Hello, everybody. Welcome to Binging the Force, a Star Wars rewatch podcast with the Rocky Mountain Fan Force. My name is Dale. Tonight we are watching a great episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 4, Episode 14, A Friend in Need. And I've got a great panel of folks to talk to you about that. We've got Cory.
Hello.
James.
Hi, guys.
Jonathan.
When you need a friend, I'll be there.
And Michael.
Welcome back.
All right. So, guys, in this episode, we get to see a little bit of negotiation between representatives from the Republic and the Separatists, which was set up in some earlier episodes where we got to see the Separatists have their own Senate. There's a senator named Nina Bonteri. She's only around for one episode, and then Dooku has her offed. They mention her a lot, like a half a dozen times throughout the series, but she was only around for one episode. So her son, Lux Bonteri, Ahsoka meets him. She has big eyes for him. She's very excited about this new guy in her life, and then they kind of go their separate ways. But he shows up again this episode, and the story switches over to being about Death Watch, and we get our first look at Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan.
Yes.
She might be important later on.
Yes. So the whole reason we're sticking with this is Bo-Katan shows up here finally. And the fortune cookie for this episode is friendship shows us who we really are, which I think is supposed to play off of this relationship between Ahsoka and Lux. And now, based on this episode, or maybe all of Clone Wars, do you consider those two to be friends, or do you think that Ahsoka should move on to some other guy? It's a big universe. She doesn't have time for him. So, Jonathan?
Sure, I'll go. I mean, I think I made my stance pretty clear last time when it comes to Obi-Wan and Duchess Satine and trying to ship those two, get them together. So I have no problem with Ahsoka and Lux making things complicated, making her Facebook status is complicated, and just trying to figure out, like, does she have feelings for a muggle here, somebody who's not sensitive to the Force. And so, but do you see that on screen, right? So does the evidence indicate that she has feelings for this dude? I think it's just one of those cases where, that we've seen before in Star Wars, where maybe, but she doesn't let herself, So I think if she played things out, she might have something going on with Lux, but like, neither one of them seem to really want to try to make it work.
Okay. Cory, what do you think? Is she forming a forbidden attachment here?
Well, let's not forget the part that they're adolescents. So, love, and the first time you feel love or you feel an attraction for the other person, that's a sticky situation for any kid, let alone, oh, by the way, I have a huge code that I have to keep following, even though I want to follow my feelings. So I think it's a great test for Ahsoka. In her, obviously, through the will of the Force, to see where she can land, how it shapes her. A test that maybe Master Yoda can't just have him conjure up in the temple. So I think it's a great thing. As far as them being friends, I think there's a mutual respect. And even though they both have the emotional part, seem mature enough to be able to, like you say, Jonathan, we'll just table it. It's fine.
But you know what, Cory? You raise a very good point. Like, they're teenagers. Are they horny? I don't know. Maybe Star Wars, Lucasfilm won't let them be it. But you've got like these hormones rushing around in their heads and their bodies. Yep. And which is more powerful, hormones or midichlorians?
There you go.
I don't know.
I would definitely bet on hormones in that equation. But I'm going to say from the Lux side, because from the Ahsoka side, I think it's pretty simple. Yeah, she does, I think, have some feelings for him, but there is the Jedi code. And also, I think this is the first time we've covered Ahsoka really in the show, like other than her as an infant. So, this is the first time officially within the scope of this show we're really meeting and seeing Ahsoka. But I think from the Lux side, I mean, from everything I've seen, and I haven't gone through and seen all the episodes that he's appeared in, but just kind of seeing a couple of them, I think he's just using her. I don't really see that he has strong feelings for her. I think she's a means to an end for him.
That makes
not
sense.
a good basis for a relationship.
James, what do you think? Are you shipping these two, or is Lux just is she just a tool for Lux?
I kind of agree with Michael. I think she's. I think Ahsoka maybe has more stronger feelings for him, and it wouldn't surprise me with Ahsoka because she gets end up kicked out of the Jedi Order. It's in her Jedi Master is our old friend.
Anakin,
and it wouldn't surprise me if she's kind of skirting the rules, so to speak. I guess I would like to see more episodes and get more information. Just watching this episode, I kind of wasn't really aware of this character and his relationship with Ahsoka. It's been so long since I've watched the series. So
right, yeah, this episode is from 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
And how about you, Dale? What do you think of these two crazy kids?
I'd like to see them make it work, but it's the same problem, that we've discussed with Anakin and Padme, with Obi-Wan and Satine. How faithful to their Jedi dogma are they going to be, and what's really important at the end of their story, I guess.
And if that's like a priority, right? So like, spoiler alert, yeah, Ahsoka does lead the Jedi Order, later on, but like the first, it's not even on her radar when we see her in later episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels to have a relationship, right? I mean, I know there's like trauma going on in the galaxy, but she doesn't try to have something on the side. Like it's just because of her training, I think, and everything she's gone through, like relationships just aren't on her radar. Maybe we'll see something in the Ahsoka series, but as of now, it's just not a priority for her.
Yeah, I mean, post Lux, there was supposed to be another storyline, like a season 7 storyline that ended up getting cut. And when they finally ended up redoing season 7, this male character that Ahsoka met was replaced with the Martez sisters. So that one never got to happen either. So. But with that, with a mention of my favorite Clone Wars characters, the Martez sisters.
Sorry, what was that, Jonathan?
I just have a quick question for Dale before we start the episode. So are you coming to us from like a closet? Are those Ahsoka-like things behind you?
No, it's a hotel room.
That is the closet, Jonathan.
But it's big. It's just a corner.
And did the hotel have as part of its rules that you have to grow facial hair?
Yeah. They said, "Show us your best Super Mario," and I've trained for this.
Because there's definitely some new facial hair kind of going around. Yeah.
Yep.
Now I can't not see it, Dale.
It's me.
All right, guys. I think it's definitely something, Dale.
It is. Yep. Mm-hmm. Something new.
Moving on.
All right, let's watch Star Wars.
Yes, let's.
All right, tasty fortune cookie coming up.
All right, and JT, you've got our Tom Kane newsreel tonight.
You betcha.
It shows us who we really are.
Divided by war. In an effort to end the galactic conflict, the first ever sanctioned meeting between the Republic and the Separatists will be held, and Mandalore is chosen as neutral ground for these precarious meetings. Tensions run high as many hold hope for these important negotiations. How's that? Not too bad.
Very good. So we've got Senator Padme negotiating for the Republic, and some new Separatist characters that look kind of strange here. So I guess Dave Filoni had the foresight to know that we talked about Padme last week, so bring her back this week. She's still important to Mandalore.
At least we're not in the Senate chamber this time.
Right, new venue.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try to have neutral ground, right, for a meeting like this.
So that's our character Lux, right? And then Ahsoka's checking him out.
Right. No one knew.
No
one in the room knew he was going to just show up here.
Yeah,
But
so
he
this-
should be invited because he was supposed to be a separatist senator to replace his mom. But then I think he realized that, that's a risky path to go down. And if you get on Dooku's wrong, bad side, that you're not going to last very long.
So was his mom an actual senator? Like, did separatists have senators? Did they have
So they had their own Senate.
They had their own Senate. Okay.
So the guys on the right side, like Mr. Brain outside his head, he's in that Senate.
Okay, so they're representatives of the separatist Senate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we get our little cameos here from Bail Organa and Mon Mothma.
Right. Mm-hmm. Who are representatives from the Republic Senate.
Right.
And this is an interesting setup. I mean, usually when you have something like this, you have like a round table, right, where you're showing kind of equality instead of this layout is very like a showdown.
Us and them, yeah. Well, they are sides that are at war with each other.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's some security there, but
they usually have like a table between them.
Yeah, it's war through proxy. It's war through droids and clones, but it's still war.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how they're negotiating. They're like, oh, hey, here's 3 people. You guys sort it out.
At the same token, that may be how they do their negotiations, no matter what it is in their Senate.
Well, and then Satine as the representative of basically neutrality, of trying to stay out of taking either side.
Sure.
So she's trying to kind of broker a deal between them, I guess, a little bit. Be a broker.
Mm-hmm. So did Lux and Dooku were already in touch at that point?
Well, those Lux wasn't supposed to be in contact with Dooku, but he thinks if he gets hauled off by these security droids or commando droids, that he would end up talking to Dooku. So he was correct there. That part was smart, but the rest of his plan is it's pretty stupid.
It's brash. It's not very smart. I didn't think it through.
Yeah, and Ahsoka's breaking him out here.
When you're full of hatred, it's kind of hard to focus, John.
Yeah, right.
We definitely have a scene of your budding Jedi separatist attraction here.
This is also good for peace, maybe.
Well, can I amend what I said earlier? I agree with what Michael said in this particular episode after the previous one where they, we really saw the attraction between the two of them. But yeah, at this point, they've both grown on, especially him losing his mother. So yeah, I agree. He's totally using her for sure.
Yeah, and she may not be recognizing that change in his feelings, that she's still attractive on her side.
It's not the best meet cute, but it's okay.
Yeah. I do like Dooku being the typical villain back there, where he was like, dispense with him, and then he turns his back and just expects his henchmen to take out the hero, which fails.
They really rely on the droids a lot.
You might say he was doing a little twirling his mustache.
Those snidely whiplash there.
His beard, yeah.
Only thing missing is Hans Conried's voice.
We do get a little cameo from Anakin here.
Right.
You're not just saying because it's a small hologram, are you? Terrible joke.
Yeah, tiny cameo is not defined by the size of the screen.
Right.
Apparently, it was a tiny Count Dooku cameo as well.
Right. If that were the case, then Snoke would have had his name. Andy Serkis would have been like front and center on the Force Awakens poster with that giant Snoke hologram.
So what's happening here? They're trying to figure out what each other stands for and how they're feeling, to share their deepest feelings, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he pulls a gun on her, but yeah, she sees right through it. She's like, no, I don't think
so. There's better ways to flirt.
Right. And then he brings up his stupid plan. Like, was he going to use the taser on those commando droids? I don't think that would work.
He even get close enough to Dooku. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so I mean, they're heartfelt feelings, and then he tases her.
Love. Teenagers in love these days.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not the best way to move forward a relationship.
Here comes the chaperone.
R2D2 comes in to block it all. Yeah, just a few seconds.
R2D2 are ununderstandable witness to the entire saga.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
He didn't witness that though, but I'm glad R2 is here.
Right. Just off screen. Yeah.
So the question now is, where did he take her?
Right.
And he hadn't intended her to be there. I think that That's she.
Well,
she,
what's so
she kept
weird
it in.
about this, Michael, is this is Padme's entourage. It's their ship because you see the symbols on the seat there. So this isn't even his ride.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
R2 was there, and someone in the entourage was smart enough to pack some winter clothing. So that helps him out here too.
Yeah, so we're now on a snow planet.
Snow planet with flowers though. It's nice. It's very Japanese.
I like. Yes.
Yeah, it looks
there
like
you go. I
cherry
like it.
blossoms.
And we've got Death Watch.
They make their dramatic encircle appearance here.
Yeah, those Mandos have a good entrance, right?
Now we've seen her before, Bo-Katan here. But we've never had a name. We've never seen her without her helmet. She had never. The character had never been named. She was always basically the female kind of leader, the kind of right hand person to Pre Vizsla. So she'd appeared in a couple episodes before this, just not as a distinguished character, not someone who'd been singled out as her own character, really.
Right. You're right with Katie Sackhoff.
Right. Yeah, and it still had been Katie Sackhoff doing the voice, even in her previous appearances when she spoke. She just didn't have a name. She didn't have a face.
Yeah.
Did she always have that helmet style? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so that made her.
She was always the night owl.
Yeah.
Right.
That's quite inappropriate, Bo-Katan.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely that's a funny little moment, but I definitely didn't want to use that as the thumbnail for the episode because Ahsoka is a teenager getting her ass slapped there. So
I assume that's just to try to get a rise out of her and to try to poke holes in her story, get her all agitated.
Yeah, and she explains to him that they're Mandalorian terrorists.
Hey, where are you taking me?
You'd think he would have done a little homework ahead of time to know some of that, but
Yeah,
clearly
you should know
this
who these
land
guys
speeder
are.
is a stock model.
I think he's just desperate for anybody to help him with his plan.
Yeah.
He doesn't care where he wants.
Yeah, he's just operating from anger and grief about his mother. So it's like whoever can help him with that plan, I think he's willing to go along with whoever he can use to his aim.
Sure.
That's a good point. There are means to an end, even if she describes them as terrorists, even if that's accurate. He doesn't care.
If they can help him get to where he's trying to get to, then he's fine.
If you're going to go up against Dooku, you probably want Mandalorians with you.
So now we find that they're at this encampment where the Death Watch is basically torturing droids and mistreating droids.
Only Star Wars can make us feel sorry for machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gives them character and.
Well, because they have personality, they do have character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we thought that Din was the first Mando to hate droids, but apparently they've hated them for a while.
Well, I don't know if they hate them. They're just using them as target practice. They may be cruel, but I don't know if they're hating them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a specific thing against droids or just whoever they could be torturing.
Yeah. So he's trying to explain his plan. I mean, if there's anybody who's worse than Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi when it comes to plans, it's Lux Bonteri.
Yeah. But she hasn't blown her cover as a Jedi yet.
Yeah. Yeah, she purposely didn't let R2 give her the R2's got the lightsabers hidden.
Yeah, it's a good thing R2 doesn't speak basic. Like he didn't come out and say, Ahsoka, I've got your lightsabers here.
I mean, never mind.
Hello.
What's going on here?
We got a kiss.
All right, there you go. Oh, this is like an episode of Stage Company, right?
And Pre Vizsla. Tell your woman to leave.
So he doesn't know who Ahsoka is.
Right.
Right, sure.
Yeah, it seems like it's, I mean, I don't know. It seems like the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, who's the apprentice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, would be something that people would know. But we've established it's a very large galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah. It's not like the Chronicles of the Jedi that is a news story coming on every week or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Ahsoka just a Padawan, so she doesn't have her own trading card yet.
Yeah.
She doesn't make the newsreels.
Right. But she is a really great character in this episode. So beginning with season 3, they gave her a new look, and they really do try to show some maturity with the character. She's got some really good lines, some mature lines, and great acting from Ashley Eckstein in this episode, I think, too.
Yep. And so R2 now finds a room full of damaged and disabled droids, his people.
It's so sad, man. Like you're saying, James, really feel for these droids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a mix of like the Island of Misfit Toys.
I was about to say those words.
And then, you know, in Wall-E, when they have all the rogue robots,
Right.
they go,
Right. That was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the perfect description of the mashup there.
Well, I like the Gonk droid. That's my favorite. Hopefully the Gonk droid will be.
I love the gun
that
droid.
big gonk, yeah.
Gonk.
The fact that he says gonk. I mean, how can you not love that?
Right?
And so now we meet the indigenous people here who also have been enslaved by the Death Watch. Yeah, we're definitely positioning them as bad guys. I mean, that Death Watch are not heroes at this point.
Right. I think before this scene, it wasn't decided. But I think from here on out, it's like there's no going back. These are the bad guys.
Yeah, because they were basically rebels with a point of view. I mean, they were fighting against their oppressive society in their opinion that did not want to hold to the ways that they hold to. That they wanted to be more warlike and more like Mandalorian of old versus why do we keep being able to the Duchess's ways, of staying neutral. So they had a point of view, but now they're just full on, bad guys.
Yeah.
They're torturing droids, they're torturing indigenous people, using them as slave workers. There's really Pre Vizsla is just a bad guy at this point.
No, they're definitely extremists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's not just like an anarchy thing. It's they have no moral.
Yeah, it's not just an opposing viewpoint. It's not good people.
That doesn't bode well for Lux Bonteri to just throw his lot in with them either, right?
Well, and kind of what we know about Bo-Katan at this point. I know this is her sort of beginning, but from what we know about her, she can't be good with exactly everything that's going on here.
Sure, but again, she also is going along with means to her ends as well.
True. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I think she's going along thinking that somehow they're going to take power back on Mandalore.
Right.
But in the meantime, they've got to cause some ruckus all over the galaxy, I guess.
Yeah, it's a question of at what point does she feel like the ends don't justify the means, that that they are working to a goal that she wants, which is the overthrow of Mandalore and basically her people taking over. But what do you do to accomplish that goal? What are you willing to do to accomplish that goal? And I think we've seen echoes of that in her character later on. She does not believe she's been the most honorable person at all times. Oh, we've got Saber watch here.
Dark Saber doing bad deeds.
Yep, the Dark Saber has made an appearance.
All right.
Still in the hands of Pre Vizsla, and we've got flame throwing. We can't have Mandalorians without flame throwing.
So is this just to paint them as bad guys? Like, this doesn't seem like a functional good thing for Death Watch to be doing, to be destroying this village, killing all these villagers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're using their resources. They kind of need their resources, at least temporary. I don't know.
Yeah, and
They're
earlier
kinda
they rounded up all the women. Like, what was behind that?
They are not good people.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's
I think we have gone past the Rubicon there. They are not good people at this point.
Oh yeah. See, now she just can't take it anymore. Oh, nice.
Yeah, both have to get into action.
Even without a lightsaber, she
I don't
can
need
kill someone.
Right? Ahsoka kicks butt.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, she does. Oh, well, not against that.
But not against the Darksaber, yeah.
Right. The
Where's
metal
our
pipe
team
will only
leader?
get you so far.
True. Oh,
But we do see some, we've always heard history of Mandalorians versus Jedi being this like epic historical battle, and we're seeing some of that here. So I think we've caught ourselves a Jedi.
But I'm surprising. I mean, like, I know that she's a Padawan, but shouldn't she be able to fight back better than that and be captured by their lines there? I don't know.
I mean, a lightsaber would have helped to cut those lines.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
But like, use the Force to pull them. I don't know.
I don't think she's that powerful yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Only
we saw
powerful
the same
spot
thing
either.
with Obi-Wan last week, where it seemed like a good time for Force push, and
Yeah.
he didn't.
Skills at the level of plot.
I mean, you can't have everybody be all powerful. Then
Yeah,
there's
people
no-
can do what the plot demands them to do. But I love this. It's like, R2 kind of befriending these droids who are downtrodden and kind of creating his own children's crusade.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
droid
because
crusade.
that retail droid is the big one.
R2's like the droid messiah. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Takes care of everybody, man.
Yeah. The way he
That's
talks
nothing
with,
else.
with that red eye, anyone else, does it remind you of Hal from 2001?
Absolutely, it
Space
does.
Odyssey?
Yeah.
For only for us old sci-fi goers.
Right.
Hal, who's that?
Definitely a Trumbull influence there.
It reminds me of the new Lost in Space, series they had.
Oh, okay.
The droid in that had a red eye like that.
Interesting.
It's very intimidating when you have a droid with a red eye.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well.
You should have taken a later flight.
Looks like Lux is definitely regretting everything to this point.
Yikes.
Yeah, Archer, you can't let that happen. I'm sure Ahsoka had to have had some sort of plan there in
Yeah.
that moment.
Ahsoka?
Cutting
And
it when he's
now
going
she's got
out.
Of
lightsabers.
course, man. Like you
Well, the Jedi's do like, the R2D2 to hold their sabers for them.
Yeah, it is interesting the call forward to Return of the
Return
Jedi
of the
there.
Jedi, yeah.
And obviously, like, R2 has a tale to tell, man. He has been there for the entire saga.
Yeah,
It's like this is at some point did he mention to Luke, hey, I've done this before.
Right.
memory.
That's how he was so precise
I gotcha.
giving Luke his lightsaber. That's old hat to him.
Not his first rodeo holding on to a lightsaber.
Dude, R2's memory banks have got to be stuffed.
Yes, keep defragging to
No,
Yeah, we could do a whole thing about just R2 in the saga and his place, and I mean him just happening to be, happened to be on that, Naboo starfighter at the beginning of episode 1. Where was he before that?
right. Who put them together?
Right.
maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
him
we
in some
saw
other-
C-3PO's origin story.
Well, sure, but it's 3.
R2D2 is the one constant memory of the saga, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. By the way, tons of excellent Ahsoka action here against the Darksaber, against Pre Vizsla.
Yeah.
She start. I'd love seeing Ahsoka grow. We got a chance to do that with Clone Wars. Is really watch her grow as even as it goes into Rebels. So yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and she's pretty strong. She can hold her own against several Mandalorians here.
Yeah.
But like, she's not all powerful, right? Like, she still has to. She fights a good fight, but she still has to escape when it demands for it.
And she had 2 lightsabers.
The Mandalorians are still very formidable warriors, right? They're
Absolutely.
not stormtroopers,
No, my gosh, no.
or in this case, battle droids or something like that.
Yeah. Thankfully, those droids were all still weaponized
Yep.
for that scene.
So where's Bo-Katan during all this fighting?
There.
There she is.
Right
Right
there on the ship.
Yeah.
Right there on the land speeder.
Yeah, that last guy, like R2, like squirted oil at him. That was fun.
Just like episode 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've seen that trick before.
Yeah.
She did use a force push there. Force push across the land speeder. R2 with his little jets there.
Man, he is just on the move.
R2's a lifesaver there. Yeah, he's your Swiss Army knife that you always need.
just in the nick
But
of
we
it.
still didn't. Did we get her name in this? Did she still get named? I think she's still unnamed. I think she's still unnamed and still
You're
unnamed.
Bo-Katan, no.
Yeah, so Bo-Katan is still unnamed at this point, but this is the first episode where she's really been featured as a character.
Right.
And it definitely is Katie Sackhoff's voice, but she still doesn't have a name. She still doesn't have a face.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of the other Mandalorians had all taken their helmets off. She never did.
Yeah.
But they've now escaped.
Yeah. I don't get too deep into Trek, but this scene here reminds me of Wrath of Khan. Just a little bit, so.
I have been and always shall be your friend.
Yeah.
Let's change things together.
I don't know. One isn't dying by radiation. So.
They could be a good team. Well, he wasn't kind of a dick.
Yeah.
He's very disappointed. I don't think he cares that much.
Yeah, I think clearly, he's interested. He likes her, but at this point, he's really on a revenge, kick, and she was a means to an end.
It's like when I murder, I'll be back to find you.
Then we can make it work.
Unrequited love.
Well, I mean, let's tip our hats, of course, to the writers at Clone Wars. They never stop making it interesting, and they do flesh out so many of their characters, which makes it another great series just because of the writing so well done. I mean, even talking about this episode with Ahsoka, having this chance to explore this part of her, I love that they always find a niche to find one character and sort of dug out and there's chances to kind of focus the spotlight on that character for a little while.
Yep. This episode was written by Christian Taylor, but directed by Dave Filoni. So I feel like most of the Ahsoka stories, Dave directs them, and also I'm sure he was very heavy-handed in the writing direction.
I mean, he is the supervising producer, so yeah. I mean, that you have a hand in all the season stories, regardless of whose name is on that particular episode.
Right.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah. Usually in television, I mean, most episodic shows, they have a writer's room, so all of the writers participate, and then the head writer kind of has a hand or has a pass over all the stories, and then each episode is listed as being a specific writer, but that doesn't necessarily mean they 100% wrote everything in that episode that has their name on it. But
So
we'll have a representative for the Writers Guild of America next week who
no doubt. That's
who really fully explain it. I believe they may about to be going on strike anyway, so they will have.
Oh, that's right.
So Dale, I feel like in this episode, it was really just like a total left turn from the beginning of it, right? So they give us this idea that, okay, you have the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars, you have the Republic versus the Separatists. And then we come into this episode, and they're like, we're trying to end the galactic conflict. We're sitting everybody down in a room. Got the Republic, got the Separatists. They all have the people behind them, their entourages, their governments, and we're going to try to mediate this conflict. But like all of that gets swept aside for the Ahsoka Lux Bonteri adventure here, right? So like the point of this series is not to try to settle this conflict in any way. Like, I mean, of course, Palpatine doesn't want any sort of negotiation between the two sides to happen, but he didn't, in any way make this little side adventure happen, right? So it just seems like it's almost like the writers are in league with Palpatine to make sure that the Clone Wars doesn't ever end.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's a revenge story. It's a romance. It's it's definitely a tangential story because it doesn't really further the cause of the war one way or the other. So
yeah, and the newsreel was all about these two sides. What are they going to do? How are they going to work things out? And then the story has nothing to do with that.
Well, within all wars, there's always going to be side stories. So.
Well, right, sure, but also too, we're a little further in the war at this point. Maybe both factions of this war are getting tired, and so this chance to even try to negotiate any little thing, it shows the wear and tear on the galaxy, as far as how the war is continuing to go on. So, but like Michael said, you know what? Let's just take a breath for a moment and worry about Ahsoka for a second. So yeah.
Yeah, all three prequel films did spend a little bit of time, with the political machinations of what was happening in that point in the timeline. But your favorite scenes are certainly the action scenes, the other conflict scenes, and not those Senate scenes in the prequel. So they're smart to put that in there when it needs to be, but also we know what you want to see.
Just a little flavor of the bigger picture, but yeah, the show is really about characters, people, relationships, and how are they going to work out when they're on opposite sides, right? That makes it always so fun. It's kind of Romeo and Juliet, two houses, divided, and so that's the kind of story that really makes things interesting when you have lovers on opposite sides of a war trying to see if they get together, or even if it's on different kind of aspects of this conflict, like Obi-Wan and Satine, right? War tears people apart, tears relationships apart. And yeah, you definitely see that again and again here in Star Wars. And it does. It makes for good stories for sure when you have this war as the backdrop.
Yeah. And it's not like they wrapped up that episode, like they went back to Mandalore and they're like, oh, Padme, we're so excited. We reached a resolution. That doesn't happen. And they don't come back to it in the next episode or anything. Yeah.
It's just a slice of life in the Clone Wars.
Well, and also, anytime you tell a story about the human equation, if you do it well, you're going to grab the attention of just anybody, no matter what the genre is. I mean, we just watched a show on the Senate and the Republic. It'd be like watching C-SPAN, which is not always great television. It really is.
Which was pretty much the episode we did last week.
When we're all falling asleep.
I mean, with potential assassins, but no one actually, well, I guess that's not true. Someone actually did get assassinated, but But yeah, we had a lot of Senate chamber scenes last week, so we did not have any more this week.
Yeah, and the by the time the Clone Wars wraps up, the idea of the separatist Senate wanting to do its own things in the universe, that just kind of goes away. And it's really, they're only represented by the droid army and not all these people that are living in these separatist systems and a part of the separatist government. It's just, there's a droid army and we can turn them off now.
Right.
Yeah, the only time you hear about like a separatist council is in Revenge of the Sith, right? Near the end when they all kind of gather together so Anakin can kill them all off. And, I guess they're in episode 2 a little bit when Dooku wanders in and they have their conversations. But like, yeah, they're not really a part of this equation. You're never rooting for the separatists as an entity to win this, right?
Well, we're never really given a lot of their point of view other than they want to separate from the Republic. We're never told necessarily why they want to separate from the Republic. Like, what are their grievances? What is the reason for this essentially civil war? I mean, other than we know that it's Palpatine behind the scenes really sowing the seeds and really manipulating everyone, but we never really get the separatist point of view other than from Dooku, and Dooku's point of view really has more to do with the Jedi Council than it does to do with the Senate, other than the role that the Senate plays in terms of them telling the Jedi Council what to do and his frustrations at the Jedi Council just blindly following the instructions of the Senate. So
yeah, it's not like the politicians in the separatist Senate know that they're following a Sith Lord.
Right.
They're just as clueless as the Republic.
Sure.
Right. So I mean, like even that blockade that starts the whole thing off in episode 1. I'm trying to think of the name of those aliens that they were there the whole time, because they're all the way there through episode 3 at that council that Anakin starts killing everyone at. But I mean, we're never told what their grievance is. We're never told what is their reason for that blockade,
Right.
Taxation of trade routes, obviously.
Yeah. Money at the root of it all. Money. Always, man.
Money and power.
Yeah.
Money and power, right.
Mm-hmm.
That is quite often what it comes down to. So
very cool. All right, James, any final thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was a good episode. I'm usually into the Senate stuff, so I'm actually glad that they just kind of focused on Lux.
You're the guy.
This kind of relationship. So, yeah, I liked I liked it. It was a good episode.
Very cool. Cory, you still feel the same about a friend in need? Is Ahsoka a friend or just someone that Lux needs?
Oh no! Well, I think Ahsoka is a friend. Yes, of course she's a friend. I'm not sure how Lux feels about being her friend. But no, I'm going to come back to Ahsoka. Michael was right. We weren't talking about Lux much, but we're always focused on Ahsoka because she's a main character. So, and at this point, when we were watching Clone Wars, I think any new tidbit to learn more about Ahsoka was always the pull and the draw for me. Lux was just sort of a supporting character that kind of came and went. So, I don't know if he'll ever see her again as he promised, but then obviously we never see that story, so who knows? But yeah, I think that they agreed to keep it professional. I don't know what she meant when she said we can try together. Not sure what that meant, but I thought it was more about their intellects and not necessarily the sexual tension, if you will.
There you go. Now you're starting to get it, Cory. Good job.
Jonathan, that's what made
Let's
you a
be
fan
a
of
team,
this
if you
episode,
know
right?
what I mean.
That was your favorite part and gets you to rewatch this episode every Friday.
That I think is a good place to end it. That was nice. It does say there's a possibility there between the two, maybe a seed planted, who knows. But I do want to jump back a little bit. I think one thing that the Clone Wars does good is planting these little seeds for other things in the episode. Like, for example, if you look back at the Death Watch and the people who they enslaved, the indigenous tribes who were there, it could also have the context of like white slavers, people who are conquesting people and displacing those who are already on those lands, right? So like the settlers of America and Native Americans, the indigenous tribes who lived here on this land, and like the total lack of respect and just destroying their land, their people, their cultures. So, that wasn't the focus of the story, but it was a plot point that was in this. That's another part of war in our society. And so I'm glad that they included that. And they did it very seriously as well and respectfully when it comes to showing how that happens in war and just in larger conflicts of this kind, and how there's no accounting for when one force does that to another people. Like, there's not going to be any sort of repercussions from the planet of Mandalore on Death Watch for what they're doing to these people. So sorry to end on a down note, but I did enjoy this episode. Clone Wars is a good show, and I'm want to see more of what this Ahsoka Lux thing can be, and if it's got legs, man.
Well, I doubt we're going to be seeing Lux show up in Ahsoka season 1, but who knows?
Wouldn't that be something?
But
yeah, for me, I mean, just overall from the episode, the big thing to me is, I was excited by the fact that it's really the first episode, at least as far as us, reviewing these things, where we've really seen Ahsoka in action. It kind of pointed to me that I think we need to go back and kind of, we started off with Tales of the Jedi. I think at some point we need to double back and cover those other 2 short episodes of Ahsoka that they had in there to really get her conveyed into Rebels later. So,
yep. Michael, did you appreciate how this episode, we went in thinking that Death Watch was one thing, and then now we have a whole new understanding of what that group really is in the Star Wars universe.
It was definitely a turn. Like I said, but up until then, you could have made a case for, again, them being, terrorists in their methods, but having a valid, case for being, having their own point of view as to how Mandalore should be run. But now the methods, I think, have gone too far, and I think that just purely threw them into bad guys at this point.
There's no honor in what they're doing.
They become corrupted.
Yeah, it's just like really unbridled, anarchy and evil. Let's just do whatever we want because we're Mandalorians and we can, dispense death at a whim. It's like, whoa.
They took the death part of Death Watch too seriously.
The ends do not always the ends do not always justify the means.
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Just because they want to express their warrior ways doesn't mean they're a group we can cheer for anymore. So
True that.
yeah.
Well, that's pretty much-
On that note, so next week we're going to jump a little bit ahead in the timeline, and we're sticking with Mandalore. We're doing all these animated things that tie into the Mandalorian and that Favreau Filoni universe. So next week, Star Wars Rebels, season 2, episode 13, The Protector of Concord Dawn, where we'll get to see if all the remaining Mandalorians at this point in the timeline are evil jerks, or if it's just the Death Watch. So stay tuned.
Lux Bonteri going to show up in that episode?
Maybe he'll be in disguise with a mustache. Who knows?
Just like you.
Exactly.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Cool.
Thanks,
Good night,
guys.
Mario.
Have a good night.
Adios.
See ya.
Bye everyone.